Thank you.
No problem. All right, so getting into these slides. So what we mostly want to take care of today is a general introduction and background to everything you have available in your BoardEffect platform. If you guys have had a chance to look at the Getting Started series, a lot of this might look familiar then as we go through the different training stuff today. We will also be taking a deeper dive into creating those events and meeting books, of course. As we go through this, I will be double checking, seeing if you guys have questions if I haven't heard from you. If you don't want to ask questions throughout, though, at the end, of course, there will be plenty of time for Q&A. Now, I know you guys have talked about this. Training sessions are booked out for 90 minutes, but keep in mind we can typically get through this in 60 minutes. So again, it just kind of gives you some time. We will definitely have plenty of time towards the end if you guys just want to hold questions till then. Completely up to you guys. I want you guys to feel very comfortable with asking questions whenever. A quick overview of how the platform was developed. So everything you will see is designed around the work of boards. So we have broken into 3 meeting cycles. Today we will largely focus on that meeting cycle. So scheduling your meetings, creating your event or your meeting books, making sure they're available to your users, and so on. Now, keep in mind too, with your BoardEffect account, there is ongoing education and support. So we do host client webinars. Those are hosted about 1 to 2 times every week. So you guys can join in on those at any point. I will show you guys where there's registration links for that. You will also have access to the knowledge base if you guys haven't had a chance to look at that. That's where you're going to find like all the training guides and videos, webinar recordings. So again, a lot of helpful information as you're getting started, and again, even later on as you're kind of getting more familiar with the platform. We keep you up to date with BE announcements in a newsletter. We do hold an annual user conference. This year it will be in September. You can always schedule a Q&A session with a client advocate. So again, you guys are going to see the basics today, but I know later on, as you guys get through all these training sessions and so on, if you want to have a Q&A session with someone, you easily can. And then, of course, you do have ongoing help from the entire client services team. So that would be myself as a client advocate, but all the rest of them. And then we are also backed up by the entire support team. Now I am going to give you guys kind of an overview of the landing page based on the user end. So if you were just a user, board member logging in, what it looks like for them. Keep in mind, these slides have not been updated yet, so there is a slight difference in the actual look right now of probably what you guys see when you actually log into your platform. So that is the newer look. So these slides have not been updated, but again, same idea of how it all works. So just keep that in mind as we go through these. But again, this is the landing page based on the user end. Left-hand side, when they log in, they're going to see whatever boards and committees that they are a part of. Again, as top-level administrators, you see all workrooms. As, again, workroom administrators, you see the ones that you help with, you're a part of, and so on. Found in the very middle is going to be your welcome message, or you can think of it as a bulletin board. So there is an overall one for the landing page when your users log in, but then you do have kind of a welcome message for each of the workrooms too. But these could be like different announcements, or let's say the company made the news, or you have an event coming up. That type of information can be found there, so you can put photos, videos, whatever information you'd like in order for your users to see it right away. All the way to the right-hand side would be important news and announcements. So the news section is going to be anything you want to announce to your users. Now for these announcements, this can be geared towards all workrooms, or it can be just to your specific workroom. And that would be identified by the italicized font that you see. So where it says Audit Finance Committee, they would have to be on that committee in order to see that news announcement. So again, where you can kind of keep your users up to date with certain information. At the very top, they also have access to the libraries and directory. Libraries, of course, is going to be all of your resource information. So that's where you can store like your bylaws and policies, that type of information for your users to find. For the library, you have an overall one for all workrooms, but then there are ones tied to your specific workroom as well. The directory is where the users can, of course, see information for other users that are on the boards and committees that they are a part of. All the way to the right is also going to be their user menu. So if they click that little drop down, it will give them an option to edit profile. But of course, that's how they can always properly sign out as well. 3 buttons to the right for them. So that first one's going to be your actions or approvals and workflow. So let's say you've loaded a document in, you set it up for approval. Here's where they can view it, approve, disapprove it, sign off. Next tab again is global search, so they can search for titles within your guys' platform. And then of course you have access to that help and knowledge base. So again, I'm gonna get into that once we get into the live platform, but this is where you can find our support number, the knowledge base again, so where your training guides and videos and so on are. So users again have access to that information as well. Back to the middle though, towards the bottom, is going to be their events. They will see the next 5 events that they have coming up. So if you only have 3 scheduled out for them, they're only going to see that 3. If you do have more than 5, they will have a view more button. So they can click on that, see what meetings are coming up. Tied to that event card is going to be their meeting materials, of course. So this is where they're going to get to their book. If you've used any of those other collaborative tools along with it. So if you've created a survey that goes along with this meeting event or a poll, it would be tied directly to that event card. But if you are using any of those other collaborative tools outside of a meeting, those would be found directly under all of the events. So they would just keep scrolling, they'll see any of those tools that you are using. So obviously showing this event card in a little bit more detail as you see here. One thing is they're gonna see that title. So this one, for example, is titled September 2019 Board of Directors Meeting. That is kind of what would bring up if they use that global search. So if they're searching for a meeting, maybe they type in Board of Directors, whatnot, it will easily indicate at least what month and year that meeting is for. But also if they click on that title, it will bring up additional meeting details. So it would bring up like the location, directions, any other descriptions that you have along with that meeting. You can also easily distinguish what type of event it is. So this is set up in your settings by the top level administrator, but you can have, board meetings, committee meetings, fundraising events, social events. So you can easily distinguish what type of event this is. You also have your RSVP grid. Now, of course, if you track RSVPs and you do request for responses, they'll receive an email notification. They would be able to respond to that RSVP request from the email notification. However, from here, when they log into their platform, if they come to it, they'd be able to see their response, so they can always modify it. But if they did not respond from the RSVP email, they can, of course, respond right here. Now, again, at the very bottom of that event card would be anything that goes along with this meeting, like the book, if you use survey, poll, and so on. So they would just click on it. They also have the export to calendar. So they click on that, it will add that specific meeting to their calendar. And at the top right, they also have a view all events button. So they click on that, it will actually bring up a calendar grid for them. That would allow them to look at it weekly, monthly, yearly, but they can look at past meetings since those do fall off their kind of screen right away. Or of course, they can see what other future meetings are coming up. Then we have that drop down. If they click on it, they can export multiple events to their calendar. Or of course, if subscribe has been turned on under your settings, they can click that subscribe button to synchronize with their calendar. All right, before we do continue on, I do want to double check if anybody has questions of what they've already seen. All right, I will go ahead and keep going then. So next slide here is what you can do in advance. So of course, one of the things you guys can do is populate your calendar ahead of time. So if you know your meeting dates for the next few months, the next year, go ahead and schedule those in here. You can go ahead and request materials from your contributors and set a deadline. So if you have someone that's going to turn in a presentation for this meeting, you can go ahead and request that in advance and then give them a deadline, of course. You can organize your documents into a folder on your computer or in the library. That way, when you're ready to add those documents into your meeting, you can easily find them maybe in one place. And of course, you can create your agenda or outline at any point, or what's super helpful is a template. So I am going to get into that with the live platform because I do think it's really helpful if you guys typically have the same agenda that's followed along with, but of course, some things are changed here and there. Template is really nice to have when you're creating your events. All right, so this is going to be a high-level view of putting your meeting books together. So the left-hand side is a sample of a typical agenda, and the one you're actually seeing is one that was generated from BoardEffect. And then the right side is the outline, so how you're actually going to build it in the system. So of course, first thing you're going to be creating would be your main categories. And if you just have main categories, that's completely fine. But that's going to be like your call to order, your roll call, approval of minutes, maybe financial reports, and so on. But you can also add in subcategories along with them. So maybe you have financial reports, and then you have a subcategory that you want to title it 2019. So you can have subcategories that nest directly under the main category that it belongs with. So as you can see here, as another example, we have one that's committee reports as a main category, but then your executive committee report, audit finance committee report, those are all subcategories within here. Now, once you have your main category and maybe even subcategories added in here, whenever you're ready, you can start, of course, adding your files to the meeting. So you can actually upload them directly to the item they belong with. So we see here as an example, your approval of minutes category, you're going to upload your minutes directly to it. And then again, you can actually add your files directly to the subcategories that they belong with. Feel free to add in as many documents as you need. Once they're in here, you can always rearrange them. So if they were uploaded in the wrong order, and of course, you can always edit the titles of them and so on. But again, you can either drag and drop the files in or actually click for more options, and it will allow you to browse wherever you need to. Now with your categories and your files, they each have kind of a drop-down menu. Main categories, subcategory menus are going to be the exact same. And then of course, file menu looks the same, but it is a little bit different. So again, you have that for each one that you add in. You can see these little arrows along with each of the items. So your main category and subcategory menu. One thing you're going to see again is you can rename it. Maybe you've selected a template for this meeting, but of course you need to go in and make edits for this specific one. Maybe you have it titled approval of minutes, but you want to approval of minutes from February meeting or December meeting or something like that. So go ahead and rename it. You can always add in a time or a presenter as well. Maybe you're not going to use this category anymore in this meeting. Go ahead and delete it out. Here's where you can go ahead and manage your contributors for this category. And then of course you do have additional security. So maybe you have a guest invited to this meeting, you don't want them to see specific items, you can go ahead and restrict certain access. All right, and then again, the file, each document that you upload has its own menu as well. Now, first one you're gonna see is the exact same, so where you can rename it, so add in a time or presenter. But also it's helpful if you wanna get rid of that .doc, .pdf at the very end of the file you upload. So that's where you can get rid of that. You can always replace it. We do recommend this if you've already made this book visible to your users. Because if they've already gone in, they've been viewing that meeting, that book, maybe even made notes all over it, replace will at least still keep their notes. So we'll just replace it with that newer version. So again, we do recommend replace if users have been viewing this, but all of a sudden you do have an updated file for this. So go ahead and use replace. And then we do also have a preview. So of course, once it's uploaded, double check that it's correct when you want it in here. This is where you can request the approval of this document. But of course, you also have that overall delete, which it is in red for a reason. Delete, we would just recommend maybe if you haven't made the book visible to your users. They haven't looked at it, they haven't even seen this document. You can go ahead and delete it and then go ahead and upload that brand new version in. Or of course, if you're not gonna even look at this document anymore in the meeting, you can always delete it out. So you can even build the book just to see your work in progress if you'd like. So you would click build book, it will actually compile everything into one PDF for you. But feel free, of course, to still edit as needed. So you can make changes up to the last minute. Just make sure, of course, if you do go in, make edits, upload new things, whatnot, you're gonna have to click Build Book again. You can also go ahead, if you have scheduled meetings out, go ahead and attach it to that meeting. But of course, your final step is you want to make this book visible to your users. So of course, they can actually view it. So you're going to click that dot, it changes to green, and it will also say book is visible. Another indication that it is now visible to your users is that you will have this notify users button. So this would allow you to message your users, email them, letting them know this book is now visible for them to view. You will not have that notify users button until, again, you make that book visible. All right, so I am going to go ahead and switch over to the Board Effect platform now, and this is where I'm actually going to switch and get into your actual platform. While I'm doing that, though, I do want to double check, does anybody have questions of what they just saw here? No? All right, so getting into the actual platform. So again, I've actually added myself in here. I am actually a top level or system administrator for the account right now. So again, might look a little different than some of your guys's, but just kind of an overview of this landing page, what you guys see again when you log in. So when you log into your platform, left-hand side, you're going to see your workrooms, your groups that you are a part of that you have access to. And then again, in the very middle is going to be your welcome message. So this is the overall landing page one. So this is the one that all of the users see when they log in. And of course, this can always be edited just by using that pencil icon. You click on it. I'm not going to change anything, but I just want to show you guys, of course, all those different tools that you have, because you do also have your own welcome message within your workroom. So again, you can actually add photos or videos. If you guys want to take a look at, kind of the different things you can do with your welcome message, under your knowledge base, again, there's different webinar recordings and videos just strictly on this welcome message. So definitely recommend checking that out if you'd like. And then to the right-hand side, you have BE announcements and news. So a little different than what we saw on the user end, users only see news. And again, that's anything you guys want to post out to them, kind of keeping them maybe up to date with something. That way, again, they can actually just click on it and it brings up the information. But the BE announcements, that is strictly kind of for the administrators. So you can see, like, we put the webinar schedule here. When there is an update to our iOS app, we put that information in here for you to see. So for this webinar schedule, I think you can always, of course, find this on our website, but if you're logged in, just come in here, you can click on it and sign up for any webinars you would like. I'm going to go into, so right-hand side, those three little tabs, again, you have your approvals and workflow and global search, but I do want to mention this help tab. And again, this is that knowledge base. I'm going to go ahead and move that over. So a lot of helpful information in here for you guys to take a look at. So of course, again, you have this knowledge base. I'm just going to click on one of these. You'll see it opens a brand new tab. Now your users have access to the board and committee member section. That kind of helps them out. You guys as administrators have both. So you have board and committee members, so you can kind of see their end, but you also have the administrator view. So from here, again, you have that Getting Started series, as mentioned. So this is kind of everything you're seeing today. We have our webinar recordings. And then down below, you also have specific training guides or videos based on, like, you want to know how, again, to generate a cover page or create categories. So you have all that information in here. So again, that's just under this help tab, knowledge base. Now you also have where you can contact support, so you can create a ticket. You have our support number in here. And then what's very helpful is you have this information of your organizational representative. And obviously that is listed as Anna. So anybody can see that information from your kind of your organization. So they can come in here. They know that Anna would be the one to contact if they have questions or need anything, maybe in regards to a meeting or an event. So that is always helpful. That can always be edited or changed if needed under the settings. So that is something only your system administrators can change. Now at the very top, we're not going to get really into detail unless you guys want to at the very end, but just to kind of briefly go over, you have your libraries. So this is all of your resources again. You have an overall one called Resource Library for all workrooms to see, but then you also have one for each workroom. So again, just kind of supportive documentation if you'd like, anything that's maybe not necessarily tied to an event, but you want your users to be able to view. You also have your directory, so this is where different users can be managed, added in, and so on. And then there's also settings, but again, only the top level administrators or system administrators will have access to the settings. Again, towards the end, when we go back to slides, we can get a little bit more detail if you'd like about those, or we can just skim over those. But settings, again, is only available for system administrators to make changes to. Then of course you have your user profile. So from here you can edit it, reset your password, even create a ticket from here, but of course also properly sign out of the system. All right, so now I'm going to scroll down, and as we see, we have our upcoming events. Now as administrators, you will see all of them that you are a part of, have access to, have created. Again, when it comes to users, they will only see the ones that they are a part of. So I do know that you guys have a ton already scheduled in here. So I believe, Anna, does that mean, has everybody kind of come in here, kind of tested things out a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. You guys are on it. This is great to see, super helpful. So I don't feel like I probably have to go into too much detail for you guys since you guys have already kind of tested it, but I do obviously want to go over the idea of it. So keep in mind, you have your upcoming events. Here's your event card. Now, when you have an event created, if it's the same location or same kind of general information of a meeting, you can actually just copy it. So that's kind of a shortcut. I do notice here, do you guys typically have your meetings in the same location or is it different?
This one was just set up so everybody could put it in their the sample meeting, but everybody, it depends on what workroom they're part of.
Okay.
And
okay.
I also added some of my support work meetings in there already.
Okay, perfect. So I'll kind of show both ways. So one thing I do want to show is, of course, when you guys are scheduling out your meetings again, if you have the same type of information, once you have one meeting event in here, you can actually just copy that. It'll create a new version of it, but it's just for your new meeting. So like here's Morgan's March 1st, 2020 meeting. If it's the same general information like location and so on, she would actually be able to just copy it, and then she could make it her April 1st, 2020 meeting. So it carries over that general information. Now I'm going to go ahead and just create one from scratch. I'm going to go into your administrator workroom, and you guys can delete this later on. But I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go ahead and just create a new event so you guys can kind of see it from scratch. So I click new event. So again, you have all these, obviously the ones with the asterisks you do need to add in. I'm going to go ahead and just title this February 2020 meeting. You have your start and date and time that you need to add in. So again, if you, we're going to change this. And when you change this, you can actually just click on the clock if you'd like. And you can use these arrows to change the times, or if you click on the number, it brings up all your digits. But again, as I was mentioning, if you copied your meeting information over, it'll carry all of this over. So it would have your title, it would have the same start time, it would have your location, and it would carry over the address if you put an address in. So I'm just gonna say conference room just to leave it pretty simple. But again, the nice thing is if you do put in a full address, if for some reason they don't know where they're going, maybe you guys did change locations this time, when you give a full address, it will actually give them directions. So they can click a directions button and it'll bring up Google Maps for them. So that's just nice, again, if you've maybe changed locations and so on. But again, you could always leave that blank. And then you also have this description option. Now what I have as an example is maybe like if you tell them when meeting materials will be available. So mine always say like meeting materials will be available mid-December, mid-January, and so on. So whatever information you want to put in here is just a description to go along with that meeting. You could put in a location photo if you'd like. You have facilitator email. That's just really, maybe you have someone else they're going to contact in regards to this specific one, so you can make that person a facilitator. Then of course, here's where you have your different event category. So here's where you can select that. That way, again, if they're on multiple boards or committees within your group or within your organization, it kind of just easily distinguishes it right away on their event card. I'm gonna go ahead and click track RSVPs. And then again, I do see that you guys have integrated that GoToMeeting. So if you guys do use this, you can go ahead and add that in. But now I'm gonna go ahead and click save. Yep.
That actually just auto-populated on ours when we got the platform, but we do have Zoom, and I
Okay.
tried to integrate it yesterday with the like key and the secret key, and it wasn't allowing me to for some reason.
The Zoom invite wasn't? Or the Zoom integration?
Yeah. Is that something you would help us with, or should I call?
It might have to be something. Do you have someone from IT?
Not in here.
Let me see. Let me see if there is someone on our support team that is familiar with it. They don't really kind of show us how to do the whole configuring of all of it. So I can definitely ask someone from support, see if they're familiar with it or what they can do, because I know typically they always tell us like IT usually has to do that setup. But if so you're getting an error when you try to do it though?
Yeah, when I'm using the key and the secret key from my Zoom account.
Okay.
And I put it into my Board Effect account. It's
Okay.
just saying, sorry, this can't be done at this time.
Okay. Do you mind, once we get off of this or at some point whenever you can, trying it, and can you send me a screenshot of that?
Yeah, I have my laptop, so I can do it right now.
Okay, perfect. If you can go ahead and send that over to me, and then that way, again, I'll go ahead and get with support right away once we get off this call, and I will see if there's something that they know of or if they can see something on their back end.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and choose this one because it said I needed to select one. Let's see if it gives me that now. Okay, perfect. All right, so again, all of your general kind of meeting details, that's the first thing you'll do with your event. And then down below is where you're gonna go ahead and have your guest list. So you can see obviously there's 4 people in here right now. You can even separate it by user categories, but these would be the 4 that would be currently added to my guest list because this is just for the administrator workroom. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just click save. Now it doesn't notify anybody of anything just because you've created the event. So then when we get into the event details, again, you can see here the basic information. Now, so if one of your users were to click on their meeting event title from the event card, this is the screen it would take them to. You have your guest list right below. So again, whoever you invited. And if you'd like, again, from this dropdown, you can actually click request responses. Now that will send an email to them, letting them know that they need to RSVP to that meeting. And again, if let's say you have 10 people invited and 6 have responded, 4 haven't, you can go ahead and request it again at some point. It will only send it to the people that have not responded yet. Now, once they start responding or whatnot, you can actually also click their own dropdown. Maybe they saw you real quick. They said, oh, I can't make that meeting anymore. Can you go ahead and change my response? So you can actually do that from here, view their profile, message it, and so on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and click my board effect though. That takes you right back to that home page. So the landing page that we saw right when we logged in. And if I scroll down now under my upcoming events, I have this February 2020 meeting, which is the one I just created. So it's right here for them. And again, if this is the same general information, everything I just typed in into those event details, that's the same information I want. When I click the drop down, I can click copy and then make my March 2020 meeting. Okay. All right. And like I said too, if I click on the title, it takes you to that screen you guys just saw. Okay. Now let's go ahead and we're going to get into creating your book for it. So I'm going to go ahead and click attach or create. Now, of course, you do have these additional collaborative tools like I keep mentioning. We're not going to go through those today, but of course, we can always have an additional training session on that, but there's tons of videos, webinar recordings based on all this information. So we're going to go ahead and click create book though. All right, so we're into the book now, and this would be you creating it from scratch because I haven't selected a template. So you would be able to generate your cover page if you like, your agenda, and then you would start building all of your main categories and subcategories if you have any, start uploading your files. I'm going to go ahead and change this title though, just to February 2020 meeting. And then again, I see you guys already have a couple templates built in. So you guys can select one of these templates, or of course you guys can go build your own for your own workroom. I'll get to that once we're done creating this meeting book. But again, you can go ahead and this will easily bring over your categories, subcategories, anything you've already built into that template. And then what you would just do is make edits to it, of course. Now, would you guys like me to choose one of these templates or create one from scratch? Create one from scratch?
Please.
Okay, perfect. All right, so then we'll go ahead and skip that. We're gonna keep it in the administrator workroom. All right, so first thing you're gonna see is generate cover page, and the next option is generate agenda. So again, you would put in this information and then we will generate that for you. It's kind of the first two things your users see when they get into their meeting book. Now again, if you don't want to use it, you just leave it unchecked. And then we won't have those two pages. But just to kind of show you guys the whole overall look of this, I am going to check it. I'm going to title this, I'm going to leave the header as February 2020 meeting. You can always add in a header too if you'd like. I'm just going to go ahead and put in the date, February 20th, 2020. Line 1 is conference room. Again, if you put in an address, it would have those carried over as well. And I'm going to have add logo to cover page. I'm going to leave that checked. Then I'm going to go ahead and keep the generated agenda, and we'll just say February meeting agenda. Okay. And we'll go ahead, add logo to the agenda. We can do generate page numbering if we'd like. But with this generated cover page and agenda, you're also going to see this edit font styling. So I'll click on both, but first I'm going to go back to this cover page one and click on it. So you guys can actually change the font, the color, and the size of it. So you can change this. There's some choices, but go ahead and choose whatever you like. Now, again, what I do want to mention is, as you can see, because if you have to go through this every time, change all of these colors and so on, if you do ever create a template and you select all of these in your template, it will actually carry over all of those choices. So you won't have to choose this every single time. And I'm going to go ahead and...
Is it possible to have a default for all the meetings where the colors remain as a template that remains the same?
Yeah, so you can just create, like, you can create your overall template, and then when they actually get into creating this this book, they would be able to select that template. So you can do an overall one, like you could create a template out of in your administrator workroom, and then they can actually select that template in their own meeting event or their own meeting book.
Do that for support or not all of them at least, because, sorry, we're having a side conversation.
No, you're fine. So I'll also show you guys kind of where you can create those templates, because I see that you guys have created them. Were those just kind of test things?
Yes, I was just playing around.
Okay, so yeah, so I'll show you guys once we're done creating this book of where you can go create that template and then how you would easily just select it from the drop down. So yeah, so again, you can create your overall template and then already have all of these colors, sizes, everything like that selected. So they don't have to do this every single time. I'm gonna go ahead and collapse cover page and go into the agenda because you will see here, there's a lot more options for the generated agenda. So you can change the font of each of these, change the color, even the style and the size. And then, and that's just that type of information, but you also have your categories, of course. Font, color, you can even change like, so if you guys use, let's say upper alpha here, you can even put like you want dividers, add another level, because let's say you do have a subcategory and that's gonna be lower alpha. And let's go ahead and just change that for fun. Okay, so again, once you guys create that overall template for everybody to use, you have all of your colors selected, it will carry all of this over. I'm gonna go ahead and click Save and Continue, because even when you do select your template, you will not be able to move on to your categories and so on until you actually click that Save and Continue. So now we're here. So again, we're creating it from scratch. So we're gonna click Add Main Category. Now, as you guys saw in the slides, that's gonna be just all of your main ones. So let's say maybe your first one is Call to Order. Maybe you start at, I think I said this would start at 8:05. You can put in a presenter if you'd like. Let's just say Anna, and then we'll go ahead and click Save. And again, you just keep clicking Add Main Category. Let's say Approval of Minutes from last. And that's gonna start, let's say 8:10. And we'll click Save. Let's just do, like I mentioned before, financial reports, and that will start at 8:30. So again, it just keeps putting them in that order as you're building them. You can always rearrange them. So you have this, what we call, of course, the hamburger menu. So you just click on the little lines, hold down your mouse, and then you can actually drag and drop. So that way, again, you guys can easily move things around. But I'm gonna go ahead and add in a subcategory to financial reports. And I'm gonna actually title that subcategory 2019. So as you guys see, it nests directly under financial reports. Now, what you can also do is you can create an additional subcategory. Now, this one here, you can see all the way to the left, it's kind of small, but it says 2019 as I'm kind of, it's when you kind of hover over it, it indicates which one you're talking about. So that one's 2019. If I go to this, it's kind of cut off, but it is meaning financial reports. Because what you can do is you can actually add in a subcategory under your initial subcategory. So let's just say I want to call this maybe first quarter reports. So as you guys are kind of seeing, you have your main category, subcategory, and then you can add in additional subcategories below that. And again, you can even go back to, let's say I want to go in and say 2020 now. So that is, again, falling directly under financial reports. Okay, so again, feel free to add in as many as you'd like. Again, I could even move 2020 up above 2019. I could even add in another one, say second. And again, what will be nice too is, again, if you guys do create those templates, you have all these main items, it does carry all this over. And all you would have to do is, again, click on the drop down. Maybe you're not going to discuss this one, you can always delete it out. So this is where you kind of have all of your editing or your menu that's in regards to that category or subcategory, or again, even your files once you start uploading them. Now again, let's say you've gone in here, you've created all of your categories, you thought it was ready to go, but now all of a sudden you do have another category that needs to, is going to be discussed, it's going to be added in. Go ahead, still add that in, but again, it will add it to the very bottom of your meeting, so you'll need to drag and drop it wherever it needs to go. Now I do want to show, if I go to the very top, you're not going to see that build book option. You're not seeing that because there's no files in this meeting yet. So you cannot build book until there's at least one document in here. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and add in approval of minutes. So you can either drag and drop. You have your files open on your computer, just drag it in here, or you can click for more options, and then you can go ahead and browse. Now again, you have this library option. So if it's already a document that you've uploaded into your library, go ahead and just grab it from there. You can add in a web link if you'd like. But then again, you also just have your upload file, so where you browse directly from your computer. So I'm going to go ahead and click browse. This might take a second to look through my computer. Let's see. Sorry, just trying to find a document to use. All right, so we're going to do board meeting minutes here, and then go ahead and click save. So if I scroll down, it's added to my category now. Now, since it is a Word document though, you are seeing this little hourglass icon. What that meant is that it's converting to PDF. So we do recommend, of course, that you upload a PDF, but if you don't, that's fine, because we do convert upon upload for you. So if you've added in a Word document or PowerPoint or Excel, once it's uploaded in here, you're going to see that little hourglass icon, just indicating that it is converting it at that point for you. Now again, if I want to go ahead and change that title, I have that drop down, click rename. Maybe I don't want DOC at the end. And I'm going to title this like January. And click submit. And then again, you'll actually now see that build book option. So again, if you want to preview it, see what it does look for, what it would look like for your users, you can click on that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on it for now. It's going to tell you that obviously it's building your meeting book at this point. And then you're done. So let's say your users log in, they go to the meeting, and they now see that book button. They can click on it, and this is going to take them to this page. So it would take them to exactly what this looks like. Now, what they can do is they can actually click on that specific document, and it's just going to open that document up in a new tab, but it's using the PDF viewer. Okay. So what they'll want to do, and it's best practice, you guys can do this as well, is of course, you can click View Meeting Book Viewer. If you click that, opens in a new tab, but it carries over that full PDF. So you have your outline on the left-hand side. So as mentioned, if you do that generated cover page and agenda, those are the first two things that show here. And you can see the different kind of changes I made, small changes. And if I click an agenda, this is that generated agenda then. So again, you can see here too, it carries over your logo if you have that checked. Here's your headlines and your titles. If you put times, those show up on the left. Presenters and so on show up on the right-hand side. But you can see here too, again, your main categories, and then what it also looks like to have subcategories and then additional subcategories. You can also, from the outline on the left, click that little drop down and it will carry over, it will show your subcategories, but then they can also click on that document and it takes them to it. So of course they can just scroll up and down. They can also jump to pages from here. But again, if they just click it from their outline, it takes them directly to that page. Upper right corner is how they can make annotations. We're not going to get into detail in regards to that. Typically, that is something we do with your prep calls and your board orientations and so on, which we can talk about at the end. But just know, again, if your users go in, or even if you guys are testing this out, you're looking at this meeting book viewer, your annotations are in the upper right corner. By default, those notes you do make on the document are personal to yourself. So shared annotations is a setting that your system administrators first control, and then the user decides if they want that annotation shared with anybody else. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. So we're back on this screen. But again, what you'll also see is it says book not visible. And like I showed before in the slides, when it's not visible, you're also not going to have that notify users option. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that dot. So now it would be visible. If the users log in, they'd be able to see that book now. But you also have this option to notify users. So if I click on that, it'll bring over whoever is invited to that meeting. And then it brings over the information. I do want to mention, I know Chrissy and Anna, I believe you guys are for sure system administrators for the account. Just know for you guys in settings, if you guys go through your email templates, you guys can change these as well to fit your organization. So we do already create templates for you for the general kind of emails that you can send out from us. Like, let's say you request the contributors, there's an email that goes out for that, or you want to change this email when meeting materials are now available. You don't like how this looks, you can actually change that. Oh, I do see that you have made some changes. Perfect. So yeah, so you guys can change at any point. It's under your settings, under email templates. But again, if I go down here and if I were to click send, it would send out to all the people that are supposed to receive it. Now, what I'll do real quick too is just again to kind of show you guys, I'm going to click my board effect from those kind of breadcrumbs, takes us back to that landing page. And if I scroll down to that February 2020 meeting I created, you now have that book option. And again, if I click on that, it takes me directly into it. All right, so I am going to get into the templates for you guys, but any questions about that? All right, so what I will get into then, like I mentioned, is I'm going to get into the templates. Okay, so again, I am under the administrator workroom, kind of the overall one. There's that event that I created. And again, you can see it over here. But I'm going to go into this library section. So what we have is we have this visible book. So what we just did was we created an event and we created the information from scratch. Now, if you guys have done that, you already like how one of your meetings look, you can actually go ahead from that book, copy to template. So you can copy it over. It will then create a template of that book, and then you can use it for future books. Okay, so that would be, again, if you've already created an event in here, you've created a book, and it is the one that you guys usually follow along with. Go ahead and already just say copy to template. What another option too is under library, we're under meeting books, but I can go to book templates. Okay. So again, here's kind of the ones that you were playing around with, but you can just go ahead and click new template. And it's going to see all that information, or it's going to bring up all that information. So this is where you would create it completely from scratch like we just did. Title, header, your cover page and agenda if you'd like that. When you click save and continue, you'd be able to go in, create your categories and your subcategories and so on. And then in the future for all of your events, you'll just be able to select that template from that dropdown like we previously saw. So again, there's kind of two ways to do it. It just is based on if you've already created an event and a book that you like in here, then go ahead and save that as a template. Or if you haven't, just go in here, click new template, build it from scratch. And then when you start scheduling your meeting events, you can actually click the template dropdown. All right, so any questions about templates? Typically what I go through next would of course be kind of that overview of settings. We have a few slides to finish with. So before I do switch over to that, any questions while we're still in that actual live platform?
I actually do have a question. Can
Yeah.
you go back to the template page that you're just on?
Yep.
So, see these two, I think this is where I got confused when you are stating it into one of the workrooms. Is it only visible if people have access to those workrooms, or?
The templates.
Yes.
So these were ones that were built in the administrator workroom. So let's say I go into this ACF Board of Directors. So what you can do, I'm just trying to see because it should. There's one that you have. So yeah, so it does have both of them still in here. So when you create your event.
Other people see it though, if they're not members of that room, can other people see it?
That template. So if you build one that's for like an overall workroom one, for all workrooms to see, yes, anybody would be able to select them, but you should be able to just create a template that is just for your section. So let's see if I go into like this internal meeting. Okay, so from here, or if I go under library, when I click new template, I can say which workroom it belongs in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No problem. And of course, you guys can go in. I know that was just kind of some test stuff. So I can either delete that for you if you just want to go in and just once we're off this, you can go ahead and delete that event. All right. So of course, like I said, last couple of things, I just have to go over some slides. I'll at least switch back over to that screen. Now, again, this is in regards to the settings menu. So Anna or Chrissy, were you wanting me to just kind of skim over these, kind of mention everything, what the different settings are? Do you want me to kind of give a decent overview of it all?
They're not gonna have all, yeah.
You just skim over it.
Okay, yeah, I'll just kind of mention each thing. And for you guys, of course, if you guys haven't, I know you guys kind of probably got in here and tested the settings a little bit, but again, there are webinars in regards to just the settings that you guys can take a look at, but of course, we can always have a separate call in regards to these. But overall of kind of the settings, so general settings, this is where your system administrators can always update the contact information or your platform title. And this is where they're uploading your logo and everything like that, that displays, of course, throughout your platform. We saw the directory, which is where they can add, modify users, and so on. But there is a section under settings as well where they can manage them. So this helps with, like one of the settings under here is if someone attempts to log in way too many times with the wrong password, a system administrator can actually unlock their account so the user can get in. They can keep track of term information. This is where they can actually manage the workrooms, control what they have access to, and who workroom administrators are for each one. And there's another section to manage the users. Here are the different event settings. So as mentioned, like board or committee or social events, fundraising events, the different workrooms maybe you guys have, you can actually color code them, add in as many as you'd like. Again, this is where they can actually authorize or revoke mobile devices for users. So maybe someone lost their device. A system admin can actually come in here and revoke it. They can enable Touch ID and Face ID from here. There are custom fields that they can create or even remove. So if there's information that we don't already kind of capture, the administrators can actually create custom fields like birthdays or allergies, demographics, There are different reports that they can keep track of, like logins and attendance, term information, pull a report of those custom fields. We do have a security summary. The first thing that they're checking is that Activate Support Admin, which I do believe that you guys have turned on at this point, which is great. That is helpful. So what that means is if you guys ever need help, with confirmation, of course, from an admin, someone from our support team would be able to log into your platform and see what's going on. There are certain settings that, of course, we've already kind of distinguished for you guys, turned on or off, set certain limits to. So if the system admins, if you guys ever realize something needs to be changed, you would need to submit a help desk ticket in order for that to work. And then, of course, there are certain features like contributor link expiration, 2 weeks, 45 minutes. We do already have, if you guys didn't know, there's, I think, like 3, but there are board effect templates that we already have. They're very general. So if you just want to select one of those, you can actually kind of see it and then maybe just change it from there. But those are just kind of just be generic ones that we've already created. As shown before, you have email templates. So the admins come in here, change how those look. Just so you guys know too, as the system admins, if you did make changes to that email template and you don't like how it looks or anything like that, you can actually click Restore to Default and it will bring all that information back for you. As we talked about too, you have your different integrations. So this is where you can enable single sign-on. I believe I saw it pop up that you sent me the email, Chrissy, so that's perfect. So I'll go ahead and get with support on that. But of course, there's other things like Salesforce, Google Drive Picker, and so on. So yeah, so I'll definitely get that over to support real quick, see if there's any information they can provide to me, and I'll follow up with you. Okay. All right. So just a couple more slides. These are just overview of your entire kind of account. What you guys see already on the screen would be the information you guys are kind of already gone through, what you guys are completing at this point. I do know that we have at least one other training session. I think you have another workroom admin that's joining one in February. So that's great. Everybody's getting trained. If you guys are contracted for the minutes module, you guys can always schedule a training session for that. And I don't know if you guys have already discussed this. So Anna and Chrissy, this could be something that we discuss kind of on our own time. But of course, in regards to like your board orientations, if you guys want to schedule those where we actually train your board or your different groups, so you guys could schedule those with us if you'd like. Prior to that board orientation, we would have a prep call just to kind of go over what you want us to cover with them and show. So just keep that in mind. You can contact me directly for that if you'd like. And then as you guys already saw this slide, the ongoing education and support, again, that's included. So feel free to use this at any point, your client webinars, you have access to that knowledge base. We keep you up to date with those BE announcements. You have access to the annual user conference. I believe they'll be putting more information out in regards to that, but I do know it is in September. Feel free, again, schedule a Q&A session with a client advocate. I believe in the meantime, I will actually be your direct client advocate. So if you guys have questions or anything, you can contact Anna, she can contact me, whatever you guys need. I'm here for you guys. And then again, we also have our whole support team that we're backed up with. So if you guys don't have my information, if you guys would like it, of course, my email is in the bottom left corner, and then our general support team information is in the bottom right corner. All right, but that is everything I have for you guys today. Anna, of course, Anna and Chrissy, at least I will be following up with you guys after we get off this call. But before I let everybody go, does anybody have questions?
Amanda, would you be able to send us your PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can go ahead and get that sent over to you. And I'll go ahead also, once I have the recording link, I can get that sent to you as well.
Great, thank you.
No problem. All right, well, if there's no questions for me at this point, I will let you guys go. Again, Anna and Christy, I will be following up with you guys, but I do appreciate everybody's time today. And I hope you guys have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.